Do you know a lot of people that went through a divorce and that are not pro-divorce? It's a real question, actually.
Mm, no, I think most people that or at least the women that have come to my circle of women, and a lot of them are divorced, they are not against it. Well, most, like, I know I've met a woman that struggling with the process because she's the one that's being left. And, so, but at the same time, she's also realizing that it's not what she wants anyway.
Mhm.
So she's in that mix of feelings, emotions. Maybe in a year from now, I'll ask her, and then
Mhm.
she'll be like,
Yes. Yeah.
I do feel like some people have a hard time with the identity shift from being married to now having to consider themselves divorcees. Like like
Yeah.
like there's an identity shift, and
Mhm.
maybe it's shifted to be more sexy.
Welcome to Permission the Podcast. I'm Dr. T, and this is my sister,
Silvana, and we are two regular people talking about spirituality in our daily lives.
Each week, we're inviting you to the internal conversation. So let's get started.
With your permission. Hi, we're back to Permission the Podcast. Today, we're talking about divorce. Not only just the end of marriage, or it's more also the beginning of a relationship with yourself. And with us, we have Sexy Anne-Lise.
Hi, ladies. Pleasure to be here on your podcast. It's really an honor. So my name is Anne-Lise Cailliez. I'm based in New York. I'm French, and I'm a marketing agency owner, a CrossFit athlete.
Truth
Badass.
be
You can't
told.
see, but everybody's nodding, in a
Yeah.
like approval kind of way. And I'm super
Hell
excited
yeah.
to be here to talk about divorce.
Yeah. I mean, okay, let's talk about the whole athlete thing, because you definitely are after 5 years. Come on.
No, for those of you who are listening and hearing that for the first time, I'm definitely not an athlete, as opposed to Teresa, who lifts like nobody's business. Like every time this girl is lifting, I have the feeling she's going to break the bar. The barbell, like the thing is like shaking, it's shaking, saying, "What are you doing to me?" Yeah, she loves it. Loves it.
Okay. Anyway, the divorce conversation. I feel like the what started this was just because the three of us have gone through it, right? And being able to talk about it in a good, kind of healthy way, as we're now kind of thriving in our own lives. I mean, Silvana's still in the process of it, but still,
yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of thriving that's happening with it, right?
Yeah.
And who came up with this? Was it me? Was it you?
It was you.
It was me. It was me.
Yeah.
I came up with it. I think it was my book, right? Like we were doing the book launch, and things were going so great, and then I started talking about divorce, and that's how we landed here.
Well, one thing I can say is then when you ask me to join your podcast with that theme, I first said no. I'm like, I don't think so.
I was so surprised by that. I was so shocked.
Well, I mean, Teresa, you are very open about your feelings. You have your whole breakup story in a book, and it's very transparent. Very brave. Not everyone is comfortable with the exercise of showing their. I mean, divorce is a big deal. It's not like a little light little thing that happens in your life. So I think a lot of people would resonate when they say they don't necessarily want to talk about that on a podcast. You know,
Truth.
it's not
True.
the easiest thing to do. And it also surprised me that I was like, I don't think so. Because it's not my style, right? I'm very like, yes, let's do the things. So it forced me to question, why are you not keen? What are you worried about exactly? So actually, it was an interesting process for me that I said no, and I had to look at why I said no.
And then came back and say yes. So win-win.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if it sounded like it was a little bit of a trigger. For me, it was also the understanding that it's such a mixed emotions involved in it and the process. Like the relief, yet the little bit of sadness. Like all of that mixed together. And but at the end, I feel more relief than anything. Yeah, but it's just I don't know. It's once I feel like it takes time to go through the process itself. The guilt, the sadness, the releasing, the freedom, and just all of those things going through. The grief too at one point.
The grief is brutal. I mean, I felt like I was grieving my identity so much. So much of who I was wrapped up in my relationship and how I saw myself as a partner first or as a spouse first, and then everything else, right? And then all of the other parts of my identity, psychologist, blah blah blah. It was always my partnership came first. Was that different for you guys?
Yeah, and I think that also the understanding that every divorce process is different. And like though I'm really friendly with my future to be ex-husband, it still was a process to go through, and it's different. For you, maybe you felt like you lost yourself in it. Me, I was very much myself, but I had no connection with him. So did I feel like I lost me? No, I was me. I was just me being single while I was married. Like I was still me. I was doing everything on my own. And so I didn't feel like I lost me, but more like I really didn't have that connection, you know. And at one point we did, but it was lost pretty, I want to say, even
Pretty
early in the
early on.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure. It happened a long time ago.
Yet I felt comfortable.
I didn't exactly feel grief as you ladies. I felt relief that divorce was even a possibility. A little bit like when I went through abortion. It's a weird parallel that I'm making, but I was so happy that it was a possibility, that I lived in New York, that I could access it, that I could do it. And I had the same feeling. And as I went through my divorce, I felt like that. I'm like, oh, I can do it. So I can extract myself from a relationship. I can find a lawyer. This is like, I can end this. Like there are ways for me to end this. The issue is he didn't really want to get a divorce. So it was actually hard to make it happen. So for me, it was not grief per se, because I was happy to end that chapter. um, but it was relief. Also, no guilt. On the contrary, I felt I was doing something for myself and to stand up for myself. But it definitely
Nice.
took a lot of courage, because people have a lot of thoughts about divorces, and I definitely did. I was super traditional on marriage, and my views. And for me, you get married and you stay together
It's
forever.
forever. Right.
Classic. I never really
Mhm.
questioned it, So as it happened to me and I understood like, oh no, like it's nice on paper. These ideas are great on paper, but in real life, no, get out of a bad marriage if you can and if you want. Absolutely. So I have very different views on divorce now. I'm very pro divorce.
I fucking love that. I mean, I feel the same as far as like I didn't feel any guilt. And also I guess for me my situation was a little different from both of you where I, from my understanding both of your spouses wanted to stay in the relationship while I was the one that wanted to stay in the relationship when with between Anna and I. So it was a little different in that way. So I didn't really have guilt. I was more initially I was thinking, okay, what can I do to preserve it? And that was also a really challenging time of me going into it thinking, okay, is there anything I can do to, you know, still continue to be married? And thankfully there wasn't because I'm so much better for it now. But it's hard. I think what's hard is when something feels like it's happening to you, which is not the experience that either of you had, from my understanding.
Right. It was more my decision, and doesn't mean it wasn't hard. It was and yeah, the guilt part too. I mean, also there's the kids are involved. And so bringing them into the mix, okay. It's that sadness that, okay, when they ask them about their parents, they're going to be like, oh, they're divorced, like their feelings, taking their feelings into consideration was like, okay. And also trying to separate that from, okay, don't use them as an excuse. This needs to happen, right?
Well, that's what you stayed in there for so long because it was
Mm-hmm.
over such a long time ago, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was probably pondering probably 5 or so years before it. Yeah.
How long were you thinking about it, Annalise, before you kind of pulled the trigger?
Me, it was fast. Once I understood I didn't feel safe, there is no way back from that. Like there is, when it finally hit my rational brain, I'm like, oh, I'm scared in my own house. That's when actually the thought was, because we're talking about having children, and when I realized I love my non-existing children too much to put them around a man like that. That's when I realized, well, if you're thinking like that about your husband, I think he should not be your husband. So that's really when I realized, like, whoa, I would never put him in front of my non-existing children. So why am I even with him?
That's so beautiful. What a beautiful, amazing perspective. Like, because I feel like that's the number one thing people that are right now looking for partnership, looking to have the marriage and children.
Mhm.
The first thing to answer, well, one of the first things to answer is, are you comfortable with this man raising your children if you're not around? Meaning if something were to happen to you, right?
Mhm.
And I have actually said that to people in therapy. Like, okay, this is this the person that you're wanting to share the rest of your life with? But more importantly, not more importantly, but also as important is how comfortable are you if this person raises your children without you?
Mhm.
Because that is a very critical part.
Yeah,
That's so fascinating.
I think a lot of people don't really think about that. It's a little bit like when you get married, you don't really think about the exit too much. I mean, people get married, they think they're going to be together for a long time. And I think that's the same with children. But I think as you would enter a business, you think about what's the exit strategy. I think for children, you have to think about it even more so seriously. Can I see myself co-parenting with that man or that woman? Because if you don't, you probably shouldn't really explore that route.
I feel like getting with the person that I married made me not want to have children for the rest of my life. Like I became sterile or infertile or whatever that was it. It like killed my eggs.
I think that's something that can change. I think with new partners, that can change it. That will really make, either do, never, I'm never having children, or when you're with the right person, I think that can evolve. It's not necessarily so black and white, or at least for me, that's the case because I've never been focused on having children. I don't really care for children. I always cared more about the relationship, and the children, I see them as an extension of the relationship, not the other way around. Um, so for me, I know it changes depending on who I'm with.
That's interesting. For me, I don't know, just after going through all of the thinking and definitely thought that he's great. He's a great dad. And yes. So maybe that was the purpose of this marriage, right? Like the boys, and they're amazing. So that's my take from that. Like, okay, this was meant to be for them.
And I think that adds a complexity, right? Because a great father is not necessarily a great partner. Like a lot of things need to happen right for a relationship with children to work and last. It's a lot of pieces that have to work together.
Yeah, for sure. Did it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the whole marriage and children thing, I mean, thinking about it from a future perspective, I'm inching towards the possibility of just entertaining that for my future again. This is like very new, where I'm starting to think about, okay, I could potentially meet someone that might want to get married, and I would be open to starting that conversation. Children still no. Children still no. And at the same time, I feel like that can also be a conversation.
Yeah, I feel it would be a conversation knowing you. I think if you're really in love with someone and that person is so keen on having little ones, I don't know.
Yeah, me too.
I feel the
You
same
know what I
way.
mean?
Yeah,
And
me
also, maybe that person already has little ones.
Right.
It'll be like an instant family, but you don't know. Just,
Yeah. I think staying open is nice. Then it can go a different direction, and that's the fun.
Is there anything you miss about being married? Any of you?
For me, it was not much a difference. Being married or in relationship was not really different. So it would be asking, do you miss being in a relationship? I'm always in relationships. And it was probably one of my worst relationships. So do I miss it? Nah, no, nothing of it. No.
Yeah.
And I didn't care about the status as well. For me, it felt a bit old to be married. Like it felt like, oh, this is something for old people. It's not like kind of traditional, not edgy, kind of basic bitch. So for me, it didn't resonate with how I want to see myself, like a married woman. No, no. I want to be a bachelorette, you know.
You're so hilarious.
You're so funny. With your question, do you miss being like in a marriage? But yeah, I want to say not not in a marriage, but yes, with a partner, and just having something emotional connection.
How long has it been since you had that?
It's the idea of it, maybe. Like
You
when you
mean
have the
with
status of you're married, No, actually, I
no?
don't know. I'm like, no, I don't know.
You mean with the boys with John, with the parent, with
Well, how
my boy's
long has it
dad?
been since you had an emotional connection with an intimate partner?
Oh, what, a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I miss saying wife.
What?
Like, I miss saying wife. I miss referring to myself
To
as a wife.
okay.
Oh, you wanted to be a
Well,
wife.
no,
And I
but
also miss
also,
having a wife.
but you
So
also used to.
traditional.
I know, but Tere always used to be like, "This is my wife. This is my wife."
Yeah,
You know, like
I can understand that. I always wanted to be a lesbian and enter a party and say, "This is my wife."
So
Yeah, there is that summer. A girlfriend of mine had a girlfriend. She was always hetero, but one summer she started dating a girl, and I was so jealous. I'm like, "How is it that you're becoming the lesbian? I was going to be the lesbian. You know, my whole life I wanted to be a lesbian, and there you go with your girlfriend."
no,
I was
you
so
don't.
jealous.
No, you don't.
I would love it. I would look so hot, like with my wife, my hot wife,
Sure.
because
Yes.
obviously
You
she would
would.
be really hot.
But it's
You
a
know?
hot mess. You don't you don't want that. I don't want that for you.
But you can't generalize, you know?
No, I can't. I gotta tell you, it's hard.
But all relationships are, you know, have their challenges. Might as well be with the hot wife.
You guys are funny.
Okay, so no grieving then. Just relief. I did experience the relief. It was interesting because I experienced the relief among the grieving. It was weird because I had this idea of, oh, I want this person back. And at the same time, I've never felt so good, like just being alone and being with myself and being quiet and I don't have to essentially take care of this adult other human. It was a very strange kind of processing that I went through right when my marriage ended. But the relief was so loud. It was so overwhelming. Did you experience that, Koi?
The relief part, yeah, it was the freedom part, meaning and also just saying it out loud, because for the longest, I thought about it, and then I'm like, I know that if I say it out loud, then it needs to follow with action. And so the first time I said it out loud was before I went to Egypt. And so I said it, and I'm like, okay, I spoke it out in the universe. You need to follow with action. And that felt very much freeing and relief, like such a relief. Like, okay, now you need to do it.
Who was the first person you told?
Out loud, it's a friend.
Okay.
Yeah. A guy friend, actually. He gave me like hey, what's your deal? You're always doing stuff by yourself, blah, blah, blah. What's your deal? And then it just came out, like, I'm married, but I went to get a divorce. It just came out. It was just so weird. And I'm like, oh my God, I just said it. And it
That
felt
is awesome.
amazing. Mm-hmm. And if a simple, weird question, what's your deal? He's a good friend.
Smooth.
Yeah. Very smooth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that happened. That happened actually. I want to say late December or early January, prior to me going to Egypt.
Did it feel like it closed something?
Well, at the moment, I already knew the power of my words and how words are spells, and I knew that when I speak something into existence, it's happening.
Anne-Lise, did it feel like for you something ended, it, almost like a phase of life ended, or no?
I think it changed the way I have picked partners since. I think I had one blueprint my whole life until that marriage. And I realized it didn't serve me well. So I broke it. I broke the pattern. I broke
What
the
was
blueprint.
the blueprint?
They have to be hot. They have to be charismatic. They have to be social. They have to be fun. Like life needs to be really fun, really passionate, really extra. So I was looking for extra and connection and chemistry. All the kind of what I find now a bit basic and not necessarily reliable, but that I think a lot of people are after when they're dating. So I think I put importance on a lot of things that don't matter in the long run because you're dating somebody gorgeous. I'm telling you, they will get ugly when they get nasty. So that thing that you thought was cool or important to be attracted to them, it disappears in 2 seconds like that. So that was a lesson. It's not because you're attracted by someone that you will sustainably be attracted to that person just because they're hot. That seems like pretty basic, right? In principle. But I think that's how a lot of people date. They're yearning for that connection. They're yearning for that chemistry. And now I say, watch out for the chemistry in the beginning. It may be based on things like you're not so aware of, like, and why do you feel so familiar with that person? The familiarity that people are like, oh, I feel like at home with him. I feel like we've known each other forever. I'm like, yeah, well, look into that first, dig in a little bit. That might say something. Feels familiar, yeah, maybe the not good familiar. Yeah, I think that was the case for me. It felt familiar. I'm like, when I met him, I'm like, oh, I know how to handle that. Like the good and the bad, familiar. So now, as I'm dating, if it feels familiar, or when I hear girlfriends telling me a story like that, I'm like, how does it feel familiar? Was there somebody at home a little bit like that? Because it's interesting. I married the man who has similar traits to my father, but I didn't realize at the time because I thought, well, he's very good looking. My father was not necessarily. He was very charismatic. So I looked at different data points on what made them similar or different, but on personality, on how volatile, on how communications, on so many other things, they were actually really similar. So familiarity and chemistry, I say, watch out for those in the beginning.
That is so fascinating. Koi married. Who did you marry? My mom.
What? Excuse me?
Yeah.
No.
Isn't John like mom?
I see. Okay, it took me a minute. I'm like,
You married your
Yes.
dad. Koi married my mom.
He's very homebody, but my mom, no, my mom is so, I don't know. She's a stress ward. He doesn't. He's a laid back kind of guy. So he's. If you're talking about his homebody, yes, he's homebodied.
He's homebodied. He likes the same things. He likes to stick to the same things. He doesn't talk much.
Yeah, but he talks. My mom doesn't talk
My
much.
mom doesn't
Doesn't
talk.
communicate. Let's just put it that way. She doesn't communicate feelings. Does he communicate feelings? Yeah, but not really. So in that sense, it's also
I mean, they're
a guy
not
thing.
going to
I
be
think.
twins, right? They're not
Right?
going to have
No,
exactly
no.
the same personality, but it's things that are oddly similar.
In a way, like, okay, so my dad was pretty absent too. Lots of work. Work was very well. He was supporting us, but at the same time, he was not very much around. And so, in that sense, he did focus a lot on his job and he wasn't around at all, right? Only in the winter when he was off, because he was a golf pro. Well, is a golf pro. And so, in that sense, maybe I married both my mom and dad. Like a mix of both, but I don't know. I think it was more me. It was more about me picking someone that was going to really let me be just me. So maybe I should have just not just stayed single.
I want to do me and just leave me be. I love that.
I don't know. I mean, and at the same time, I had to heal that. I had to look in the mirror. Why did I pick a partner that wasn't really there? And a lot of stuff came up, like childhood stuff, like, mom being alone, mom, okay, don't, the seed of just take care of yourself. Just be you, just be independent, just take care of yourself. Don't depend on a man, that kind of thing.
Is that the message you got?
It's little, yeah, in a way, yeah.
Oh. Like she didn't tell you that. You just
No.
saw it.
I just felt this, so I would see her, like one of the earliest memories I have of mom is mom always crying, and me trying to console her. Okay, what's wrong? What's going on? Why are you crying? And she will hug me and say things like, I'm okay. Like, no, you're not.
It's so funny. Thinking about this, like the patterns or whatever. My friend Dre always says, "Okay, T, don't be Captain Save-A-Ho." Like, okay.
Captain Save.
I love this.
Because part of what kind of drew me to the woman that I was married was very characterologically fucked all over the place. So it was very much kind
Savior.
of yeah. Like, we're not doing that. Going into that, what are you both looking for in the next one?
And
now,
you go first.
You're in the market now.
I think what I pay attention now is how intense they are in the beginning, how they behave in the beginning, how fast they want to go. And if I pick up on them being controlling. And this time around also, I'm not in a rush. Whereas I felt that when I married my husband, I had this sense of, oh, I have to get married and have children like normal people. Whereas now I feel I'm unhinged. I'm a divorcee. I can do whatever I want. With, without children, lesbian, not lesbian, cat lady. I don't give a shit anymore. So I think for me,
You're so
it removed a lot of weird pressure that I had put on myself. I love not being conventional. I don't know why I thought getting married and having children and, I don't know why I thought that would suit me. I never really questioned it. So the divorce, also helped me question that. Like, why do you want that? But do you really want that? So I think to answer your question, what I'm looking for is peace and somebody who wants to build slowly.
I love this for you. I think this is so you need some peace. I love that. It's time. It's time for peace.
Yeah.
For me, I'm more now that I am so in tune with, my spiritual path, and I'm like, the next partner has to be totally aligned with just being connected. So I'm looking more for a spiritual partner, a divine partner, a sacred partner, you can call it, but no so much, a physical partner. Yes, do I want to be attracted to this partner? Absolutely. But more so, I want a connection. I want a connection with purpose, if that makes any sense. So feel like I'm fully into my purpose, and that person needs to be aligned with that. And peace and connection without what do you call it? Control, without, how do I say this word? Connection and freedom at the same time. Without attachment. There we go. That's the word.
Well, you can't say that. You can't just say without attachment because
Like,
you want to be attached.
I do, but not in the controlling, the possessing kind of way. Like, I want a person that's choosing me every day, that can be free to do whatever, but chooses to be with me. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Supported and free.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if that makes sense to you, Tere. Okay.
It does. So I've been kind of conflicted about whether I would want to have a closed or open relationship. And I'm still kind of chewing on it because I feel like I can make a good partner for a closed relationship. And at the same time, I don't know how much that makes sense. Like what you were saying, Annalise, of like not traditional, and maybe that's what I'm kind of looking for, but maybe not. I'm still kind of, I don't know, chewing on whether the nature of the relationship would be closed or open or whatever. But
I think the best way to know is by doing. You try it out. You'll try it out and you see how you feel. That's the best way to learn. I think I had some great ideas that I wanted two boyfriends at the same time, which I did. Was very happy with myself for a bit. And then I realized it's insane. It's so much work. It's actually, the idea was really fun, but the doing was actually not fun. So I think for these things, you can think all you want with this or that suit me. Sometimes you just got to try, and see if it works for you.
I like that. I'm leaning more towards closed because I'm really into listening to, podcasts about relationships and male female dynamics and dating and the sexless nature of our society and the dying birth rates, and I'm really 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 into all of that. I spent I spend way too much time listening to all of that, and I'm leaning towards closed, more of a closed structure because of all of the kind of findings and research saying, this is what makes most people happy. This is what makes thriving relationships. This is what, all of the research says the same thing. And so I'm leaning towards that. But you're right. I would have to try it for myself.
So I'm a mix of both. Open in communication, close to, okay, you want to be with somebody else now, but if you tell me you want to be with somebody else, go ahead. You know what I mean? It's not, so it is close, that is fact that it will be, is it just the two of us? But at the same time, it's open and free, because if you choose to be with someone else, then you can go right ahead. And that's the way I feel about the next relationship, meaning you can go ahead without me.
Okay.
Right. That's a
Yeah.
closed relationship.
So it's close,
You
but
go
very
ahead
much
without
you-
me.
You go.
yeah, and that's the freedom of being able to communicate, being able to fly wherever you want to fly, but choosing to be with the person you want to be with. And so someone that can choose you daily.
I feel like the truth part and the transparency is so critical though. Like I would always, whatever partner I have been with, I've always been very honest about like, oh, I really like my boss right now, or my boss really turned me on, or whatever. I'm very honest and transparent about things like that, because then there's no need for me to not tell you. So all of the partners I have been with, I have felt comfortable enough to kind of discuss these sorts of things as they come up. And that's part of it. The conversation that I'm having with myself about whether I want a closed or open relationship is, I understand that sometimes when we go to different places and occupy different spaces, there's a level of attraction that naturally happens with people, and I I'm comfortable enough to have those kinds of conversations. The the openness would be, can I trust myself and my partner to kind of act on those feelings if that's where the relationship goes. So that's less about having more than one relationship at a time, like a true polyamory thing, but more about, can I seize an opportunity if the opportunity is presented? And at the same time, it's fine. I don't have to. You don't have to. Like, we can move on from the moment. But the full transparency, I'd rather just be able to openly talk about those things and just have a regular conversation about it, which not many people can do.
Yeah, no, I don't think I have done that successfully in the past. I think I'm from a different school on that topic. If I'm with someone, do I sometimes want to bang other people? Absolutely.
100%.
But does it mean that I'm going to share that with my partner? No, it's my internal world. It's my secret garden. I'm not acting on it. I will not act on it either. Like I can compartmentalize, and I don't feel the need to share that. And I don't feel the need I mean, I don't think I would really want them to share that either. I would want them to keep it their their secret garden. I like the idea of having secret gardens. I find that healthy. Like, I don't think we need to tell each other everything. There are things you can tell your girlfriend as well, not your partner, you know? Like,
Yeah.
So it would be something you would tell a friend, but not
oh yeah, girlfriends, yeah, but with girlfriends, there is like sometimes
a code.
there is a level of transparency. Sometimes I verbalize an idea that I'm so embarrassed about, and I'm able to share those with friends. And I don't think I've exactly had that with a male partner, that level of vulnerability. So
Right. It also generates insecurity. I guess you're gonna do something, blah blah blah. I think
That's interesting.
I feel like I like your garden theory. It's your garden, and unless you're gonna act on it, we should probably have a conversation. Right?
yeah,
But I don't know. I always feel like truth is way better than not.
I agreed with the truth, but I also
Mhm.
believe that not everything needs to be said.
Yeah, privacy.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree with you. If it's the point of I actually want to really bang that person, it needs to be a conversation. I don't believe in cheating.
No. I mean, you would know first. I feel like in my past with people that I have dated, it was always with people that I have been in relationships with. It was always a conversation of you would know before I do anything,
Right.
because I would tell you,
Right. But then
because I wouldn't hide
yeah,
it.
right. Then there is no cheating. It's just a conversation.
Right. Okay, so so but any other thoughts on divorce? I feel like we're all very pro divorce.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know a lot of people that went through a divorce and that are not pro divorce? It's a real question, actually.
Mm, no, I think most people that or at least the women that have come to my circle of women, and a lot of them are divorced. They are not against it. Well, most, like, I know I've met a woman that struggling with the process because she's the one that's being left. And, so, but at the same time, she's also realizing that it's not what she wants anyway.
Mhm.
So she's in that mix of feelings, emotions. Maybe in a year from now, I'll ask her, and then
Mhm.
she'll be like,
Yes. Yeah.
I do feel like some people have a hard time with the identity shift from being married to now having to consider themselves divorcees. Like like
Yeah.
like there's an identity shift, and
Mhm.
maybe it's shifted to be more sexy
Exactly.
or socially whatever, but before, I think when there was a
I think
heavier
it was looked
stigma.
down, right? It had a
Yeah,
stigma. It was also a cultural thing, right? Like, oh,
Whereas now,
yeah. Now it's like,
there's a
oh,
nice
free
ring to it.
hand.
It's a little scandalous.
Mm,
and the whole concept of Mrs. being like a possessive for Mr., right? And this whole kind of idea of there's so much connection to the person that you married. You're taking on their name and all of these other things. Well, traditionally, right? I don't know if you guys took on your partner's names, but there's a lot of kind of ownership and possession that then almost seemed like okay, now you're like a displaced woman in society a while ago. And I kind of wonder if that was a part of the reason why my mother stayed in her marriage. But although she is pretty obsessed with my father, so there's that as well.
Or he's the only man she's ever loved, right? And yeah, she's
pretty
and
obsessed with him.
I'm trying to think too, like back in the days, I don't know, it was the 1800s or whatnot. Women were shamed for getting a divorce, even though they were left, right? Like husband cheated, they were left. They were shamed and they were taken out of circles of public circles, so they weren't allowed to go to the, I don't know, balls or whatnot, because now they're divorced. So it was very a shameful place to be, even if they were not the ones that caused the divorce.
Well, even that. So I have an aunt that was married, right? And I don't even know the story. She's just my whole life that I've known her or that I remember, she's just been alone. But at one point she was married and she just never
No one talks about it. I don't know
entered
anything about
into
it
a
either.
relationship and entered into another relationship ever again. So she kind of has this like nun lifestyle where she's just not with anyone, has never been with anyone as long as I've been alive, which is quite a substantial amount of time. And she's just, it's a choice, a weird choice, but a choice. So at some point she was married to someone and then I believe he left and then she just decided, okay, so this is it. I'm never going to be with another person ever again. That's
I don't know
crazy.
if it happens like that though. I think maybe you're not with someone and then you realize you're happy single. My aunt is the happiest single woman I know. And she repeatedly said that with me growing up. She's like, yeah, it's great, huh? The children, it's great. Getting married is great, but not for me. I saw your mother and my sister struggling with children, with husbands. It's nice from the outside. I like my nephews and my nieces, but you know, like she loves being single.
It's definitely
I
not for
can't
everybody.
say that my aunt
No?
wasn't it.
Like the peace of mind, she's a lot more calm than my mother and my other aunt. Like she's calmer, she's wealthier, she travels more, she has more friends. She does all the things. So she's like a very happy life.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's an interesting point because I was talking to a friend from the box actually, and I was saying how I just have as a woman I have the luxury of time whereas other women like early 30s are thinking about, okay, I want to find a person, I want to be a mom, I have to now find a person, establish a relationship, do the whole compatibility thing, try to get pregnant, and all of these things are kind of pressure and time and the statistics on that are kind of interesting as well. After I think 33, just the percentage of women that find relationships and then subsequently have children decrease by a very big number between, I think, 32 to 33, and then it just goes down from there on. But there's this pressure to kind of go into a relationship and have children at this specific time. And I was telling her, like, what's working for me is that it doesn't matter for me.
Mhm.
Like, I have all of the time in the world. I have the luxury of time
Mhm.
because I don't have specific time frames or criteria or goals or.
But there's other options nowadays too. Like women can freeze their eggs. They can do other things. They can go to a bank, sperm bank. You know what I mean? There's not just the traditional way anymore. And there's women that are out there that want to be a mom and they're not willing to wait. I'm not going to wait for Mr. Right
Not a
or
lot of
whatever.
women do that though. I know. And now it's an option for sure. And a lot of women choose not to do that. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm hearing podcasts where there's support groups for women that are grieving, you know, their time period ending, their fertility years ending.
I have a couple of friends that are looking into freezing their eggs. So I think, if it's really that important to you, do something about it. Like find a way. I don't mean go to Thailand and hook up with someone.
Why not?
That's one way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other options. Sure, I'm sure that's an option.
My father at one point said, they can just go to Peru and find a guy. I'm like, who are you talking about? And who's they? Just go to Peru and pick a guy. It's like, okay, Dad. Good plan. Okay, so I feel like divorce is great. I strongly recommend it for people who need to do it, to just do it. I just like my phone just stopped doing things. Okay. I think divorce is great and I think everyone that needs to do it should do it. So that's my last line on divorce. Y'all?
I feel the same way. Once you realize that that's the best place for you, you should go for it.
I feel divorce is really brave, and I think it's a luxury that actually some people don't have, and it's a tool. So I'm definitely for it.
Okay.
Team
So this is
divorce.
what we have for you this week. And we hope you'll be back next week.
With your permission.
And that is all we have for you this week.
Make sure you follow Permission the Podcast.
And we'll be back next week with your permission.